Good afternoon, everyone. And first of all, it's always a delight to speak in definitely the nicest city in Belgium, but definitely in this place, which is one of the most remarkable places where one can speak, and inviting me to speak here on a special occasion and on a topic which is really close to my heart. And if you allow me first to maybe tackle the topic from a more personal angle. Human rights are values of and for life. These are values that define us. These are values that shape our destinies. And without values, we are mostly just lost in life. As a Prime Minister, I have witnessed moments of sheer joy. I witness moments of great achievements in so many fields. And I see people who thrive and who flourish in every domain. It is what I cherish the most. The everyday successes of people from different backgrounds, from all over the world, and here in Belgium, the whole world is very often convening. They share their hopes and they share their dreams. They strive for and how they will achieve these goals. These are inspirational and these are very often encouraging exchanges. The simple act of taking care one of another is very often what makes our life so valuable. It defines us as humans. Our lives might be finite. Our desire to live together in harmony is a universal endeavor. Humans are capable of the best when they are pulling together and when they are recognizing what unites them. But the opposite is also true. When we are in disunity or in discord, we humans are capable of the worst. Regrettably, the most abominable and despicable acts of violence are also inherent to humans. War rages when people do not see eye to eye, when there is no common understanding of a future that can hold together. And 2 weeks ago, I was together with my Spanish colleague, Pedro Sanchez. We traveled to the Middle East, a region which is close to our heart for many, many reasons. But a place where the voice of the European Union is not sufficiently heard. And Pedro Sanchez and I wanted to change that. I have to say that our visit last week of the Middle East really brought our lives to a halt. The sheer atrocities humans inflict upon each other go beyond comprehension. You can simply not come to terms with the cruelty people show towards their neighbors. In the Be'eri kibbutz, people were slaughtered only for one reason, and that reason was that they were Jews. The terrorists of Hamas made no distinction between children, women, or men. Their aim was to kill as many people as possible, often in the most barbaric and inhumane way. A despicable act of hatred against the Jewish community. There is no justification for these attacks on peaceful communities. The hostages that terrorists captured make the sheer malice even more tangible. What ensued was more cruelty. The Gaza Strip, where the lives of citizens are ripped apart because they just happen to live there. Thousands have perished, and one can only wonder what will come next. Children in Gaza now play on the rubble of houses, schools, and hospitals. The future of next generation lies under siege. Hundreds of thousands of civilians have fled to the south and live in a constant fear for their lives. The international community has condemned the terrorist acts of Hamas, but it has also called upon Israeli authorities to measure its response. Too many civilians have lost their lives on that battlefield, and we will continue to say so. Restore human dignity. Respect the core values enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It is the only true call for peace in the whole region. No more civilian deaths. We must and we shall continue to defend humanity and solidarity, especially now. Universal Declaration of Human Rights may be 75 years old, but the ideals still stand. But we also have to admit that its ideals are severely under pressure. This gathering today invites us to reflect on the relevance of human rights, both in places as the Middle East or Ukraine, but also closer to home, in our daily lives. That Universal Declaration originated from the ruins of the Second World War, when also then our ancestors said, "No more." It stands as a monument that guides us towards a world in which dignity, equality, and freedom are equal. The initiative to produce a document of this importance was a bold and a courageous move. It took nerve to hold humanity accountable for the horrors of the war and the shocking human rights violations that ensued. The international community, however, saw it as its duty to come up with a universal framework that would protect the dignity and the rights of all individuals. The right to life, to liberty, to security, to the freedom of expression, to the right to work, the right to education, the freedom of religion, the right to a standard of living adequate for health and well-being of the individual, of his and her family. The relevance of the International Declaration remains undeniable today, especially when being confronted with atrocities like the ones that you are witnessing today on a daily basis. The Declaration serves as a timeless compass, but more importantly, it laid the ground for legislation all around the world. A rapidly evolving world is facing new challenges constantly. You only need to look at technological advances, climate change, or pandemics. Here too, the Universal Declaration remains relevant. It gives a certain structure to establish ethical guidelines when dealing with these complex issues. It provides us focus on ensuring equality, justice, and respect for human dignity. As we celebrate the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration, it is time to look back at the progress made, but also look forward to the future challenges. And I know that the Ghent University commits itself to a positive social impact. It is fitting that we gather here to discuss the development of science and technology and how it has gone hand in hand with the Universal Declaration. Science has undeniably changed and enriched our worlds. Medical science has provided breakthroughs in the treatment of diseases, saving lives, improving the quality of life. Since 1990, the number of people living in extreme poverty has halved, according to the World Bank. In absolute terms, this means that 1 billion people have been lifted out of extreme poverty in the last decades. Advances in medical science have increased life expectancy and the quality of life worldwide. Over the past 75 years, the average lifespan worldwide has increased with about 20 years. Polio, for example, has almost been eradicated, and the incidence of diseases such as measles and tuberculosis has been significantly reduced. Vaccination programs have curbed epidemics and extended life expectancy. Advances in agricultural technology have reduced famine and have increased food security. Communication is now instant and accessible worldwide. The number of people with access to the internet has skyrocketed. In 1990, less than 1% of the population had access to the internet, while today 60% of the population has it. However, amid these triumphs of science and technology, we cannot ignore the challenges. Uncontrolled technological change can lead to ethical dilemmas and violations of basic human rights. With the rise of artificial intelligence and biotechnology, the Declaration has reminded us of the rights of every individual. It has helped us to establish and enforce ethical guidelines. The balance between, on one hand, scientific progress and, on the other hand, human rights is a delicate one that requires constant attention and effort. Looking at history, these two forces have also reinforced each other. Medical ethics, for example, have evolved to find the boundaries of scientific research while safeguarding individual rights and privacy. Scientific breakthroughs in reproductive medicine have given new hope to couples with fertility problems. The rise of AI will lead to huge advances in areas such as healthcare, finance, and transport. Algorithms can save lives to quicker diagnosis in the medical sector. But algorithms also raise issues related to privacy, transparency, and non-discrimination. It is crucial that ethical implications are addressed in any scientific development. We must ensure that scientific progress benefits all humans without any discrimination or violation of fundamental human rights. It is that ensures that technical progress is to the benefit of the population and not being used against the population. But first, let's acknowledge that we've come a long way since 1948. In most places in the world, women's rights have become much more prominent than 75 years ago. LGBTQI rights were unheard of in 1948. And in recent years, environmental rights and human rights in the digital sphere have become hot topics. The debate about human rights has evolved in time, as it should. The second important fact I want to reflect upon is my strong conviction that human rights are universal. Some like to discredit the Universal Declaration by saying that it is a Western concept, a Western idea pushed forward by the Western victors of World War II. This is not true. It is false. And even worse, it's an attempt to undermine human rights. At the negotiation table in 1948, an Indian woman expert was present. Representatives from Egypt, from China, from Lebanon, and from many non-aligned countries were present. Anyone who has traveled outside of Europe knows that the freedom of speech, freedom of worship, freedom from want, freedom from fear are rights that people all over the world aspire to. But human rights are under pressure globally and within the European Union. Look at the pushback against women's rights and the rise of nationalism and populism in Europe. Close to our borders, the coups in the Sahel region cause instability in the whole of the African continent. There are sources of concern. We cannot let our guard down. Therefore, the 75th Universal Declaration anniversary is not a celebration. It's a commemoration, as the UN likes to coin it. And this brings me to what needs to be done. More than ever, we need to defend our principles. The respect, the protection and the promotion of human rights is one of the core principles of Belgium's interior and exterior policies. Does this mean that we always live up to our ideals? No, of course not. Should we therefore stay silent when faced with large-scale human rights violations within and outside of our countries? Of course not. We should speak up if we want to be able to look ourselves in the mirror. I know Europe is often blamed for using double standards, and I can understand why. We should avoid finger-wagging or preaching, but at least I can say that my government has strived to live up to the Universal Declaration. And let me give you a few examples of how we do that in our policies. Last year, the federal government, after many years of indecisiveness, adopted a national plan against racism. This plan gives our government more tools and means to combat anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, racism, and discrimination in all forms and colors. Honestly, it was long overdue. And although we have come a long way in combating racism, and I believe we collectively can still do so much more to embrace the diversity and the openness of our Belgian society. We shouldn't only do this because it is the morally right thing to do. It's also economically and socially in our self-interest the best thing to do. A few months ago, the Secretary of State announced that there were insufficient places to give single male asylum seekers a bed to sleep in winter. Although we are faced with a record number of asylum seekers, we have gone all the way to create new places to accommodate every asylum seeker. The third and the final example relates to the war that is taking place in Gaza. Since the atrocious attacks, the Belgian government has defended Israel's right to defend its own population, the core task of every government. But since, we have also asked for restraint, for the release of all hostages, and then for the respect of international humanitarian law and for unhindered humanitarian access. Some say these were hollow words and nobody's listening. But I'm 100% convinced of the opposite. Many of the people in the region want to hear that we Europeans care about their plight. When innocent civilians in Kiev or in Gaza are killed, we should speak up if we want our voices to be credible. And it's not just words that count. Extremist settlers in the West Bank will be banned from entering Belgium. US Secretary Antony Blinken announced a new visa restriction targeting individuals involved in actions that undermine peace, security and stability in the West Bank. Violence against civilians will have consequences. We will work with the United States on these sanction measures and we will push the European Union to follow suit. We're also upscaling our humanitarian aid and providing more shelters, more emergency kits to the citizens of Gaza, relieving hospitals with extra medicines both in Gaza and in Egypt. We are providing medical care to cancer patients or patients with severe burn wounds from Gaza who can no longer be treated there. We have come a long way. The challenges seem daunting and difficult to overcome. In difficult times, more than ever, we need a strong moral compass and respect for human rights. I count on the next generations to ensure that the following 75 years will lead us to a better, a more inclusive, a more prosperous world with truly universal enjoyment of human rights. Please use this conference as an opportunity to learn from each other's experiences and insights. Dialogue is essential to ensure a sustainable and a just future. Let us strive together for a world where the Universal Declaration of Human Rights continues to serve as our resolute guide. It is crucial that we leave no one behind and that we strive for a model where progress goes hand in hand with justice and equality. Thank you for your attention and your commitment to this important topic and to the dialogue that will happen here in the next days. Thank you.